Day 4. Coming into today, I believe up 5 points or so on Herman. Now have a lead. For the first time in the match, I have a lead. Feels pretty good. Started really bad with day 1, ended up 45 points in a hole. Got to 5 to 10 points down or so. Got to be about tied with Stepan. Stepan dropped off, and now I'm up a handful of points, which everybody knows. Until the match is over, 10 points really isn't much of a lead. When there's no more shooting to do, 10 points is 10 points. That's a win is a win. Even if it's a quarter point, a win is a win. But with another 6 stages to shoot, 10 points is not a lead. So with that, strategy does not change for me. I did not want to come in and do the same thing that that Herman did, same thing that Stepan did. Come in, end up with a very small lead, and then let it basically crumble you or dictate or change your plan in any way. My goal through day 4 is to continue building a lead. It's the exact same strategy. Time to shoot aggressive and fast whenever it's absolutely possible. Try to shoot safe whenever it's absolutely mandatory. So this first stage is another very high hit factor stage, very fast-paced stage with a lot of shooting. You're going to see very aggressive shooting. More instances where I'm not really focused on shooting stuff with my feet moving as much as trying to tilt my weight out, be able to shoot very fast with a pretty stable base, but still generating momentum to get moving on to the next thing quickly until we get down to the last position. We'll talk about that then. Right, so you see here, this is a bit of a strategic thing that I do that not a lot of people do, in my opinion, where I'm trying to take these targets pretty much as early as I can take them, right? So I want to be done this target the instant that this one comes available and is practically available. So in every case, you're going to see me taking these 3 targets side, earlier in the window than most other people will. A lot of people will be tempted to get all the way to here and then shoot this target on the right for much closer. The problem is, if anything goes wrong when you're this late in the opportunity window, then you're stuck flat-footed. So I choose to try to get this stuff done pretty early, and that buys me more time to sort of keep my skis out in front of me and process things a little bit more consciously if I need to. So you see, by the time I get to this last target, I am truly shooting this almost in the earliest possible opportunity. Reload to the end. There's targets basically in a dish that goes all the way around in a U here, and I have to basically shoot on the move around this barrel in order to get access to all of these. So you're going to see me, my plan is basically to shoot the first 2 static, take a big step on the third, and then walk down on the fourth. And you see the shooting pacing slows down quite a bit because I'm trying to actively aim and get decent points on these while moving pretty aggressively through that whole U. Here is another weak hand stage. This is what I would consider to be a survival stage. Critical that I A, get a first shot hit on this popper, and B, don't muff up this partial. And that's pretty much the keys for success here. This is pretty boring, but we'll watch it through. Very unremarkable shooting. This is not the sort of place where I want to be a hero. I just want to get through a stage like this. Like I said, first round hits on steel, get through the risky stuff, move on to somewhere else where I can make a real game. This was a really good stage performance in general. Again, trying to combine positions as much as possible to not be required to shoot things moving. With things like this, right, again, I use the terminology in classes sometimes, you identify the apex of the corner, and by that I mean the most critical point that's going to enable you to save time. So being ready for this stack as you round the corner is an example of that, where I want this target that I'm shooting at right now to be completed so that all I have to do is transition in and shoot the next thing. So it's critical that this target gets done on the move from far enough out that there's nothing else for me to do but be ready for this target by the time I get there. And you see that pretty much happens, right? The gun is in the neighborhood. It's transitioning to that target by the time I get in here, and there's very little delay before I'm able to begin shooting. Another decent example of that right here, a lot of people threw the gun up and started shooting at this stuff while moving in this direction. I knew if I got as deep in here as I can so I can just barely see this stuff, frame up this partial deep left, right? So basically in the place that I stop, I have access to this whole partial, but nothing extra. And that enables me to shoot my way across these, transition down to these low boys, and it ties everything together with a series of wide transitions where I can just kind of walk my way through and I'm moving for the smallest amount of space possible and still able to shoot very aggressively because I'm not unstable really at all. Reload out. There's another very, very good performance that potted me a few points in the overall. This is another pretty flowy stage where basically I'm flowing, like if I'm looking at this from the top down, I have to back up, go around the back, and then finish in the front. This is one where wide transitions sort of tie everything together while keeping my weight moving around. I end up getting short beeped really bad here, where it's standby beep, like right in the beginning. And so I do fumble with my gun a little bit and sort of miss my choreography sequence backing up to get to the corner. Like basically, if the zone is here and here, I want to get to myself to where I'm engaging the first target from about here, so it's a seamless transition down. You'll see what I'm talking about in a second. And that doesn't exactly happen. I end up shooting the first target, backing up a little. Doesn't really negatively affect anything, and the whole stage ends up still going really well.
Stand by.
You see a little bit of hesitation there. That was the only thing that didn't quite go right. My plan was to hang really tight to this structure right here, not punch all the way up to the front. And by doing that, I have access to this plate a little bit earlier than I expect to. So I finish that and look for it, and it's not there. So I have to drop the gun and take a couple extra steps. Again, I don't think this actually cost me any time, or certainly not a meaningful amount of time. But it was a deviation from the plan, strictly speaking, so it's worth pointing out. Still a good performance. This one is going to be a bit of a story hour because my camera died in the middle of a stage, but the beginning here, pound as much stuff as I can see standing still. Again, not deliberately shooting a whole lot of stuff on the move. I want to just be comfortable, flat-footed, and shoot aggressively, and then move. I know I have to do a reload, so I'm going to be moving basically only on one target, and then reload from the space where I'm standing up to this gap in the wall that you can see right here, and then string the rest together.
Stand by.
And the rest you're going to have to take my word for because my camera dies right here. But it's absolutely incredible that I dropped this reload coming into this position, end up back probably a half or 3/4 of a second coming up onto this target, and then go absolutely ape and do a wide transition. So it's 1, 2, 3 targets, wide transition to the activator that's off screen over here, partial, double the swinger, or paper double the swinger, and then the partial. And the time ended up being almost the same because I hit the gas as hard as I could to try to wash off that mistake, and it worked really well. It's a stage that still ended up being a pretty good performance in spite of a major mistake here. And this was the last stage of the day, short little 12-round stage. You start with the gun unloaded. I fumbled the slide a little bit on the way out. My policy that I've invoked since then, and it worked at the Race Gun Nationals, was anytime I have to load the gun from scratch, I do an overhand palm down rack on the back of the slide, as opposed to a lobster claw pinch rack on the front of the slide, because I've done this mistake too many times, and this cost me a half a second in this position right here. Right there, you see the double rack where I miss it. And a couple times over the years, I've actually induced malfunctions doing that, and it's cost me a lot. So again, strategically here, a lot of people were getting the gun up right here and then trying to really begin shooting by this point. My goal was to get basically even to this line before I even turn down range. That way I don't have to cover a lot of ground reversing while shooting these two. The gun comes up a little earlier than I expect, right? And you see when I look, this wall is still in my way. After I finish these targets, this wall right here is still in my way, which is what I was trying to avoid. So the gun has to come in and then punch back out a little bit to finish. Still relatively fast, not a big deal, but a slight deviation from the plan.